In an act of natural rebellion, the deadly Ebola virus is laying waste to people groups in West Africa, particularly in the countries of Sierra Leone and Guinea, where Fellowship has had historic and ongoing partnership. In countries already impoverished by weak infrastructure and poverty, the Ebola crisis is devastating social order, creating orphan families, making food scarce and expensive, shutting down educational systems, and destroying what economic progress has been made over the last decades.
Ebola is an invisible enemy, if you want to call it. It's just a virus that spreads through bodily fluid contact, whether casual, whether it's intimate, whether it's eating on the same plate. It's a deathly disease.
Ebola is not only a vicious and deadly disease, having infected and killed thousands of people, but the resulting fear and paranoia is creating social mistrust and interpersonal alienation that is separating family from family and village from village. Ebola is creating prison-like conditions where social contact, communal sharing, and even a simple touch are no longer trusted.
I think one of the most damaging effects of Ebola is this no-touch thing. People need touch, and there are children who are not being touched by parents, because there's so much fear.
You don't even shake hands anymore. You don't hug for sure. And then you move to the whole thing of families. When do you stop hugging your kids?
It was a place where everybody was very warm and friendly and welcoming, and now there's a fair distance between everybody all the time, and there's a lot of fear.
Businesses shut down because nobody's buying your products. Food is skyrocketing in prices, everything's going up. And nobody can make a living and everything's quarantined. A survivor then is ostracized. So who's going to feed you? And then when the parents die, who's taking the kids?
How should we respond as a nation and as a church? Should we ignore the problem? How can we engage and affect change in West Africa, where Fellowship's intimate connection and involvement has spanned decades?
Fellowship's had a history with West Africa and the Yalonkas especially. My folks went out in 1951. I was a missionary in Sierra Leone and in Guinea, West Africa with my family. And people like the Crawfusses have been missionaries in Sierra Leone. Dr. Timothy Warner and Eleanor, his wife. Dan and Carol, my brother. Wayne Fay. Cluckies came later. As a whole, over the years, we've maintained that consistent contact with the Yalonka people, both in Guinea and Sierra Leone.
These same relationships are now suffering in a way that has never been seen before. While physical travel to West Africa is presently difficult or challenging, there are many ways that we can respond. A way we can show solidarity, to let our friends know that they're not forgotten, to remind them of God's sovereignty, to support them in this time of uncertainty and sadness. What is God's call to action for us?
The people that are dying of Ebola, we need to realize that in those three countries, primarily most of those people are pagans, right? So we're talking about an epidemic that is slaughtering thousands of people who are going into a Christless eternity. That should make an impact on us as Christians, as believers.
This is just one situation, and it will go away, it will pass one day. But in the meantime, what did I do?
Fellowship Missionary Church is asking our people to seek God's heart in the matter. Prayer is our first strategy, a powerful and supernatural weapon against the continued destruction of Ebola.
In our day and age, there's no lack of issues to become engaged with. Many times I find myself facing compassion fatigue. It's so hard to care about this and care about that. And so you might wonder, why this? Well, as you've already heard, our partnership in West Africa is quite unique. And so I thought as we grappled with that, we have a chance to become informed and to get engaged. I'm going to encourage you to attend the meeting on the 15th during the third hour. There you'll get even more detail about what's happening over there to the church, but also what can happen through the church. And I'm hoping that as you do that, you will then have plenty of material to bolster your prayer life. The greatest thing we can do for our brothers and sisters is well beyond financial resources. It's spiritual resources, and that's your prayer, and that's my prayer. But that prayer comes out of information. I hope you'll take advantage of the opportunity, get that information, and share that prayer.